So they'll be calling you a radical. First off, haven't heard from Dana today. I don't think I'll be hearing from him for a day or two or three or four or five. They went in yesterday in the hospital. I think they probably went in through his wrist and or groin, but I know how that evolves quickly. Once they're in there and they can really see what's happening, and maybe even did the ultrasound down his throat, but they I know it evolves quickly when they're in there. And he said he had full blockages post the heart attack. So if they see full blockages in there, they're going to, stent him if they can. What damage was done to his heart, the heart attack, they'll know. And so I'd imagine he's probably as miserable as it gets right now. I call the post, when they split you open, those first 48 hours, you go to, you're right in the ICU before they move you back into the after ICU heart unit. And I've been there twice now as far as the heart. I'm like, I'm going to make you a big sign, blinking sign for when we come out. Welcome to hell. You don't know hell. Anybody that's been through split open those 48 hours after that surgery. I woke up a hair early, and the tube down your throat. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's all we hear all day is these jets, all day, every day. Oh, wings, we will pretend. Where's all the money? So, back to the wells. So, wind turbines are not killing wells. Starvation events. So, Oregon, NPR. Now, I was on NPR. I was on NPR on the second anniversary of Fukushima. Right after I came out of the hospital with leukemia, I was an hour-long interview. It's out there. I look back all over it. So, in 2015, I'm in SoCal, and I'm standing up on the point, and Lisa walks out and says, "What are you doing?" And I says, "Getting ready to start counting dead grays and humpbacks. That's the next shoe to drop." So now it's out. NPR is like the dead well acute situation they're talking about. Of course, they're still mystified, baffled, puzzled, stumped, perplexed. Now look, it is amazing how Kevin Blanchard's work is still being ignored after all this time. Right there, I'm like, this is the next shoe to drop, the chain. Look, these wells were on historic comebacks. They were taken off the endangered list pre-Fukushima. NPR is reporting just what Kevin Blanch reported. 7 years after the fact, we were doing our counts. It was our post-ignorance army that did all those original counts, and now NOAA's number mirrors our number. But our number was done in real time with grassrooters up and down the coast. 40% decline in the humpbacks and grays post 20. You don't think that's radical and acute? Whoa. As predicted by Kevin Blanch. It blows my mind how accurate I have been on all this from day one. And by the way, all the oceans are connected. This evolution, this chain of events, it's an eco chain. It's fundamental. It's a starvation event. Phytoplankton goes. Krill, small shrimp go. Anchovies, sardines go. Salmon go. Big fish eat little fish. Whales are plankton feeders. So starfish immediately went. That's unarguable. People used to laugh at me in 2013, 14 when I'm dogging, and walking the entire coast of California. I tell you, some of the stuff I've seen, especially up north. Whoa. Whoa. Ooh, dangerous? I met a lot of very cool people on the coast of California in the 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You get north of Sonoma County, whoa. I met a lot of criminals. Talk about a dance, and I mean criminals. I met a lot of scary ass people. I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag, working my way up. Whoa. I met a lot of great people, incredible people, especially in Big Sur. But, wow. I predicted every bit of this on this well collapse, every bit of this. First you hypothesize the knowledge, then you do the field work, then you defend the work, then it becomes the knowledge. These are full core outdowns. They're going to break the eco chain. It's not some fairy tale ecosystem, synergistic energy. It's a basic fundamental starvation event. Look, if you don't have any food, you're going to starve to death. Not to mention the sills and the wells. I predicted all this in a fine science as it happened. Boots on the ground. The Muirs. By the way, that's happening again here on the Great Salt Lake. And of course they're mystified. Acidification, whatever. Look, when the healthy species is all wiped out, what takes over? The lowest form. What is that? That's algae. That's mold. I'm the first guy that started purporting you could actually physically see the black plume in the ocean. The shorebirds when they were all dead. I'm in the central coast. Look, here's video. The sea lions and seals walking up to me. I remember a freaking seal coming up to me and basically eating rocks, eating dirt. They're starving to death. But the well, I remember standing there that day. I says, how do you know? I just intuitively know. This is it. And you got to remember, nobody was talking about it then. And I'm like, and the catastrophe happened in 2015-16. I mean, we counted, 312 that year, the post-ignorance army? Starved to death and washed up. Now, this is important because there's a big article out now in Hawaii, people freaking out what they did with the dead well that washed up last week. Now, remember, they did this at Half Moon Bay, and I went psycho. It's against the law in California. You have to leave it alone. Ooh, we don't like this smell, honey. What's that smell? It's a dead well in Carmel. Where did you sleep last night? And so, remember, they're always cutting them up with chainsaws. Yay, look at us. We're going to get right back to you. We're biologists. We got plastic boots on and rubber stuff all over, and we're chopping up, dead mammals with chainsaws. You know what kind of karma you're throwing on yourself? So they cut the well up at Half Moon Bay, and they put it in the dump. I'm like, oh my God, I freaked out. I couldn't believe it. They did it in Hawaii. They just did it. It's against the law. They don't care because the tourists get afraid. They don't like the smell. What? They're starving to death. It's unarguable, documented science now. It blows my mind how my work is still being denied, still being ignored, still being attacked. One thing at first when you hypothesize the knowledge and you're doing the work, by the way, when I was full of cancer, what a journey. Yet once the obvious is there, look, the salmon. So we don't cut dead tide pools. Kevin Blanch says, we don't cut dead humans in bone marrow transplant center. Kevin Blanch says, I was almost one of them. We count every single salmon. This is by volume, not even by weight. And, I've been reporting they're coming in smaller and smaller and smaller since 2011. Look, we had record returns on the salmon, on the Columbia, on the Rogue, on the Deschutes. Record. One of the great comebacks in history. The humpbacks were taken off the endangered list. We had incredible numbers going 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, whoops, 2011. Still had salmon. They're not trout. Trout are salmonoids. They go to sea. They go twice. They're called half pounders the first time they come back. That pounder started to collapse immediately in 2012. I'm like, here, look at this. And remember, these were record. Remember on the Columbia, they had the live cam. They're grandstanding. Look, 1.4 million return. Look at these big obese. The live cam's been out for 7, 8 years. I keep saying, and then the Army Corps of Engineers who runs these numbers classifies Kevin Blanch. It's an arguable documented fact. So the steelhead started to collapse on cue in 2012, 13. Everybody's laughing at me. Well, look at the Chinook. The Chinook got record returns, Blanch. 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There were shattering records. I saw with my own eye. Hey, wait a minute. You do know Chinook salmon goes to sea on average of 5 years. They won't collapse till 2016. Then record numbers each consecutive year. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, just like Kevin Blanchard. An acute radical collapse. Now look, if this was a gradual collapse, we surely wouldn't have had the return and had the humpbacks taken off the endangered list in 2009. We surely wouldn't have had increasing numbers in grays. Now, it's the Mexican biologists in the Laguna that are reporting the birth rate has collapsed. Kevin Blanch was reporting that in 2014 and 15. At Monterey Bay, me and the old retired biologist. She lives there, and her and her husband are a rowboat. They're giving birth, Kevin, in the bay. I'm like, oh, God, no. Oh, God, no. I knew they were starving then. They can't make it to the birthing grounds. This is a starvation event, which I predicted every single bit of it to a fine science. This is an acute radical catastrophe. This isn't some been going on for years. Even they admit in their own work. You read through these, hello, they're plankton feeders, you know. They're starving to death all over the planet now. These oceans are all connected. So something crazy happened. Something changed the Earth's ecology radically in an acute fact. Climate change, oh boy, a hell of a way to boil a planet. Nuclear energy, boiling the Earth's water and overhaul. That's going to cool it down. These little SMR fairy tales that don't, these unicorns, they're going to save us. You know, the money just flowing and everybody just doubles, triples down. Propaganda from hell. So when we have an acute radical collapse like that, we call those outliers in science, right? Well, this is obviously an outlier. You can plug in regressionary models now, take the bias, because we have all the data. We have the well data, we have the salmon data, we have the tide pool data. My tide pool work alone is freaking me, oh my, Nobel Prize. It's unbelievable. I've been so dead accurate on this. Look, I'll tell you why. Why are they mystified, baffled, stumped, perplexed? Because they're in Fukushima denial. Nobody will even admit that these cores are in meltdown to this day. They're still calling it a hydrogen blast, crippled reactor. When you're in denial about the reality and the obvious, of course you cannot fine-tune your science. You're ignoring the freaking elephant in the Pacific Ocean. Oh, we're measuring. Okay, the KOK study, which was out in 2011 showing all the cesium is into the column. I'm the guy that leaked that out. They hid it. They know their measurements are showing all this. The rockfish in 2022, 1,400 becquerels per kilogram of cesium-137 it's an ongoing event. Where are these cores? These cores are pushed into the Pacific Ocean, into the mantle. Never happened at Chernobyl, never happened to Mayak. I will quote Leslie Stahl, again to Lake Barrett, who I know. On day about 3,000. Fukushima, 16 minutes. It took 16 minutes. Freaking 3,000 days to tell you what Kevin Blanch told you in 1 hour. These are full corn out meltdowns. They're going to lie. They're going to lie. It's going to genocide the Pacific Ocean, the Great Pacific Genocide. Leslie Stahl, Lake Barrett, well, this is like going to the moon fixing this. Lake Barrett, way bigger than that. This never happened before. Well, where are these holes? See those holes? See the Pacific Ocean? We can't get near. So they've never gotten here. So you got full core meltdowns, not to mention all the MOX fuel, the incredible load of spent fuel, TikTok, Diablo Canyon Nuclear Waste Dump Facility, 40 years. I mean, if we have the same earthquake that happened, I mean, what a tragedy happened in Turkey. That's a nightmare. My heart goes out to them. It's beyond sad. We have that same earthquake in Central Coast, you're going to be evacuating Los Angeles. Well, they'll tell you to hunker in place, shelter in place, but this is so obvious. It's as obvious as scars across my chest, you know, my Fukushima bullet hole, which is my central line, you know. I got a pacemaker for life. What a journey. What a journey. Let's ignore the obvious. So they're starving to death. It's a starvation event and it's acute. And it started in 2011. So when we run our regressionary models, kids, not to mention the greatest drought in 1,200 years over the Western Isles, not to mention the trees, which I call Fuktonium fires, getting into the needles. You know, how are you going to measure for something you don't even know what it is? And they're covering up the measurements. You know, NOAA's admitting Kevin Blanch's work now, 7 years after the fact. When I did it, on, as it happened, our posts are going, look, there's a cute, I'm doing it as it happens. I'm hypothesizing it before it happens. I'm documenting boots on the ground. I'm there. I'm raw footage videoing the best I can. I don't have an IT person. I don't have a lawyer. I don't have a PR firm. I don't have shit. You know, what I've been able to do on basically 20 grand a year is staggering. Sleeping in a sleep bag. You know, I don't live in California. I don't live on the coast. Yet I'm doing all the work while in critical condition. So, you know, I'm sure Dana's in a tough place right now, and I don't know how the surgery went. I probably won't know. You know, they were starting the procedures yesterday, he told me, and I haven't heard, but I imagine I probably won't hear, because he's got to be in a tough place. I mean, when I had this, I couldn't even see for days. Think? I mean, I'm so out of it that you don't even know out of it. You know, this burden's heavy. He and I getting hard, and everybody says, oh, the jab. Dana never got the jab. Neither did Martin. You know, so hello. There goes your hypothesis poo. You know, so enough of that bullshit. I started having this heart, fell in on me in 2016, and remember they would ignore me and I'm bleeding through my face. Go see your dentist, and then they replaced it. It was a birth defect I was born with, and I kept telling them all year, I can feel the burn, it's shooting down my arm, my fingers, and they laughed at me. This is my heart doctor. They've scheduled. Oh, I was right. Almost cost me my life. Well, it cost me. I'll have to live with a pacemaker the rest of my life. My coronary artery wiped out, perfectly good. I got a cabbage. You know, I had 3 major surgeries. Not just opened me up. I had a cabbage out of my leg because that ripped right at the top of the valve. You know, they wouldn't listen to me. And, you know, pacemaker put in. All boom, boom, boom. You know, I'm on day 29 of my recovery. You know, I'm hoping when I get 6 weeks in, you know, a couple more weeks, I'm hoping, you know, that maybe I can get back to Southern Cal, San Diego. I'll have to get a room. I can't sleep in a sleep bag, obviously, like this, with a pacemaker. And that's where I recuperated at Pacific Beach, my place, with scam likely on my leukemia when I was given 2 months to live. You know, get back close to the ocean, I hear, hopefully in a couple weeks. You know, and basically run off my own property. These Roundup sprayers and whatever, they've defeated me here in Utah. You know, I stood up and fought them. I fought NuScale. I fought the nuclear waste coming into Energy Solutions. I stood up for Utah as hard as I could. I'm 7th generation here. You know, they spit at me. You know, they've tortured me. They've tried to run me out of the state, just, you know, kicking the guy off Medicaid. You know, I was talking to the Medicaid people, and they're like, how white? And I says, go ask Mike Lee. I don't know. This is unbelievable. Yeah. This past unbelievable. They hate me here. I'm 7th generation just trying to fight and protect our own children. Yet they spit at me. They're brainwashed. They're brainwashed into thinking that these environmental poisons are somehow good for the economy. And, you know, there's people talking about radon, gave me cancer, what all this stuff. What about the nuclear fallout from Fukushima? What about the nuclear waste being dumped in Energy Solutions every day? The San Onofre waste is being brought there. San Onofre had an accident in 2012. That stuff is hot. It's over the state legal limits. I've fought Herbert. I fought Cox. I fought them all on this. Well, I lost. You know, doesn't mean I didn't try. You know, I mean, they just beat the shit out of me for being right. I mean, this is truly probably the greatest PhD in human history. You know, first you hypothesize the knowledge, then you do the field work, then you defend your work. Then it becomes the knowledge. All great knowledge will be persecuted. Kevin Blanch. Stay tuned. The fight goes on.